Hello everyone, I'm Miriam and I'm here with Abby today. Welcome back to another episode of the MHST podcasts. In last week's episode, we discussed sleep and how important getting into a good sleep routine is for our mental well-being.
This week we wanted to continue with this theme by considering the other ways we can support and understand our mental well-being. Your mental well-being is about how you're feeling right now and how well you can cope with daily life.
That's right. So our well-being can change at any given time. Sometimes it changes because of certain things such as big life events, and other times it changes for no reason at all. But how do we maintain good mental well-being? What things can we do to improve it? It's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all routine and everyone is different.
But why is your well-being so important? Well, having a good well-being can help you to feel and express a range of emotions. It can help you to have confidence and positive self-esteem. It can help with having good, healthy relationships with others. It can also help with enjoying the world around you, coping with stress and adapting when things change.
Absolutely, and it's remembering that when changes happen, that good well-being doesn't mean you'll always be happy. It's normal to feel sad, angry or low sometimes, but if you have poor well-being for a long time, this is when you might start to find things more difficult to cope with.
So, what can affect your well-being? Everyone is different, so what affects your well-being may not be the same for somebody else. We all deal with things in different ways, but some common things might be that you've gone through a difficult or stressful life event. Your relationships with people around you can have an impact on your well-being, and the care and support you receive at home and school.
Absolutely, and other factors, bigger factors, can include your physical health. For example, how much sleep you get, what you eat and drink, if you take drugs or alcohol, and if you have any health problems. Your environment can have an effect. This can include the house that you live in, how you're treated by others, and having money problems. And also being able to recognise and communicate your emotions yourself to other people. You may experience difficulties with one or more of these other areas, or even experience different problems which are not mentioned here. Everyone is different. Now that we know some of the factors that can affect our well-being, let's look at what we can do to look after it and keep a positive mindset.
However your well-being is at the moment, there are things you can do to look after and improve it. What helps you now, though, may not be the same as what helps you in the future. So it may be that you need to try out different techniques until you find something that helps you. But try things that you feel comfortable with and are right for you at this point in time.
That's a really important point about how things change. So we wanted to look at how to maintain our good mental health through changes and transitions, as this can be a really difficult time for everyone. Whether you're starting primary school, secondary school, further education, changing schools, or leaving for university or work, the transition period needs to be carefully managed. If you struggle with this alone, it can have a negative impact on your well-being and on your academic achievement. During any transition period, it's really important that everybody, children, young people, anybody, are able to talk about their concerns and are supported to cope with those readjustments.
So now we are going to look at how to incorporate the 5 ways of well-being to help with transitioning and what we would suggest. So first of all, we would suggest taking notice. This could involve engaging with parents and carers. Parents and carers are often key to making sure that a child or young person has a good transition to a new school or college. By taking notice of how your child is feeling, it can be really helpful. A few things then that we can do to help could include checking in with the child or young person to find out how they're coping with well-being and coping academically, keeping an eye on how they're socialising, if they are making friends and are around positive peer groups, and providing opportunities for parents and carers and staff to link up to talk about these things.
The next one we're going to talk about is connect. So in terms of transitions, we suggest that local education settings could involve working with schools and further education providers to identify the children and young people who may require additional support when they arrive or leave college or school, developing strategies such as mentoring to support them, They could also create social events around transition settings, including talks, taster days, question and answer sessions with children and young people and their parents and carers who have already been through the transition process and can aid and support those that have less information. And for young people themselves, they think about developing a peer support or buddy system. This is where pupils who have been at the school or college longer support the newer pupils with their move to the new school or further education setting.
And the next one is keep learning. So going through transition to somewhere new can be a great opportunity to learn new things. For example, if you're going off to university and living away from home for the first time, you can learn skills such as cooking, managing your money, and study skills. If you're transitioning to a new setting, it's always useful to look at the schools or college's resources to find out what support they have available. It also might be a great opportunity to try out a new sport or learn a new language or join other clubs or teams within your new setting that you're interested in.
And the next one is be active, which is a really important step. Being active, have you ever thought about being active by mixing up your commute to your school, college, university, workplace? You may have a new route that you could take every morning, and it could be a really fun idea to mix up how you get there, whether this be getting the bus one day, riding your bike one day, or walking a new route, just finding the one that works for you.
And the last one is giving. So you can give to others by helping each other through similar situations. If you're feeling nervous about a new transition or you're worried about your child going through one, odds are that someone else is feeling exactly the same way as you are. By talking to others, it can help to make situations easier if you have others around you feeling the same way. Other ways could include offering your help and volunteering within your new setting, such as helping to set up events or even charity work.
So that's how we feel the 5 steps can really help you in terms of your transitions for whatever different stages you're going through in your life. But we also wanted to talk about how schools can help pupils to prepare for their transitions with the use of health and wellbeing lessons. Schools can use health and wellbeing education to help pupils develop good emotional and social skills from the start of their education. It's a really important thing to know that children and young people who recognise change as stressful and who seek support for this often end up coping much better with change than those who deny or avoid the emotional impact of transition.
So the skills learnt in these sessions would help pupils prepare and cope for change by focusing on how to recognise and manage thoughts and feelings, how to build resilience, and also learn how to problem solve. Schools and further education settings need to make sure plans are in place in advance to support pupils with mental health needs and additional needs.
That's an important one, the planning in advance. Schools really need to have well in advance of transitions to address any potential barriers to learning or thriving. These plans could include things like sharing information with the new setting about the child or young person's needs well in advance of the agreement with parents and carers. They could put in place a plan to address barriers before the transition starts. Also, identifying a key worker in a new setting who can monitor the effectiveness of strategies and work closely with the pupil's parents or carers to gauge how well they're settling in are all ideas that really help to support young people and reduce the stress that comes through transition processes.
So all of the things that we've spoken about today shows that the best thing you can do for your mental health should be right for you and how to cope with transition. Just make sure you make time for things which make you happy, and this will help to keep a positive mental state, and you will learn to be more resilient when difficult times and situations happen.
Absolutely, that's really important. So those positive mental states are much easier to maintain if you're doing the things that make you happy, regardless of what anybody else is doing. If it's what makes you happy, then you will find those ways to be resilient. So thinking about ways of making time for those important aspects of self-care, we as the MHST team have decided to set ourselves a self-care challenge, with each of us taking one aspect of the 5 ways to well-being and challenging ourselves to achieve something positive within it. We're going to share our experiences with each other and with you in the last podcast of the month. We would love to hear about your own personal hints and tips on the sorts of things you like to do to stay positive.
So that's everything we wanted to talk to you about today. Thank you for listening to this podcast around mental wellbeing and transition. We hope you found it helpful for either you as an individual or a parent who may be worried for their child transitioning. We have put together some useful web pages if you need further help with this, and they will be linked down below this video. See you next time. Bye!